Why is losing weight so freaking difficult? Not just losing it. Maybe you have lost weight in the past, but you struggle to keep the weight off. You gain it back, and maybe you even gain it back plus additional weight. And so now you're trying to lose weight again, and you're finding it so much more difficult than you did the first time. Losing weight in itself is difficult, but maintaining that weight loss long term, it is even more difficult. So in today's video, we're gonna cover why losing weight is so freaking difficult. And personally, I believe that if you understand that losing weight is difficult, it can help you practice a little bit more patience, empathy, and kindness with yourself on your weight loss journey. I'm not trying to get you to give up on your weight loss goals, but I do want you to understand that it is difficult. It's not easy. It's not a you problem. There's nothing wrong with you. It is actually difficult, and that's okay. We just work with what we're given. So reason number one why losing weight is so dang difficult is because our bodies are literally wired to gain fat. We are fat storing machines, and our bodies are also wired to protect us against fat loss. Our bodies don't want to lose fat because losing fat requires that we eat less, and eating less signals to our body that there's not enough food around, that there's a food shortage, that there's a famine, and that is a direct threat to our survival. So if our body sense that there's not enough food around and now we're losing body fat, it's gonna say, we need to protect ourselves against this famine so that we don't starve and die out. And so when we go on a diet, when we eat less, when our bodies sense that we are losing fat because there is less food, there are several different ways that our body can down-regulate the amount of calories that we actually need just to survive. Meaning that when you eat less, eventually that diet or that calorie deficit is going to stop working. And every time that we lose body fat or lose weight or go on a diet, our bodies will try to protect us against future weight loss efforts, making it even more difficult to get the weight off a second, third, or fourth time. So our bodies are literally wired to keep us from losing weight. All right, reason number two why losing weight is so difficult. For most of us human beings, we strongly identify with our past selves, our past habits, how we've behaved in the past. We look to everything we've done in the past to determine who we are as a person today. So for example, if you have been somebody who has always eaten sugar, whenever sugar is around, you struggle to say no, or you struggle to stop after you feel full, you may identify with somebody who has a sugar addiction or a sugar obsession. So now you say, I am a person who loves sugar, and whenever sugar is around, I just can't stop, because you identify with what you see as your past behavior. Makes sense, right? But the issue with looking to our past to determine our current identity is that when we are in that same situation, instead of thinking about, okay, what would my future self do? What would my best self do? Or what would my idol or inspiration do, right? Instead of thinking about what that person would do and then aiming our efforts towards that, immediately think, okay, in the past, when I've been in this situation, who have I acted like? What has my identity been like? What are my normal habits? And because our mind naturally goes to the past, because we identify with those past habits and those past actions, that feels a lot more in our comfort zone for how we should act in the future. And because most of us don't like to feel uncomfortable, we take the actions that are most comfortable to us, which again is what we've done in the past. So why this makes losing weight so hard is because losing weight requires you to adopt a new identity, especially if you want to do it successfully and keep the weight off long term. Instead of seeing yourself as somebody who is addicted to sugar and who cannot be around these foods, you now have to identify as somebody who does have the willpower, who does have the strength, who can say no, right? But again, identifying with those habits and implementing those new habits are completely outside of your comfort zone. And if you are not used to taking actions outside of your comfort zone, then you're gonna fall back to what you're comfortable with. So to give you an example, perhaps you're somebody who doesn't like to make eye contact with people in public, or you're not the type of person to say hi first. You wait for someone to say hi to you. So for you to now be the type of person to say hi to other people first, whether or not they acknowledge you, is going to bring you deeply outside of your comfort zone. It's probably gonna make you anxious, stressed, nervous. And if you're not used to feeling anxious and stressed and nervous and doing it anyways, you're gonna revert back to what's comfortable for you, which is avoid eye contact, don't speak to anyone unless they're speaking to you first, right? And eating habits and weight loss habits are completely the same way. To create habits that are completely new and foreign to you, you're gonna have to take actions that don't feel comfortable for you, that may be stressful, that may be anxiety inducing. And again, if you're not used to taking action despite how you feel, then it's gonna be very difficult for you to build those new habits. So our natural tendency to identify with our past selves and our past habits and to take those similar habits and actions because that is what is comfortable to us and because it doesn't evoke stress and anxiety out of us is a big part of what keeps us stuck in old eating habits and lack of exercise habits that have led us to gaining weight in the first place. So to give you one last example that applies directly to me is that I am somebody, or I was somebody, who would order a glass of wine no matter where I was eating out. If I was eating out, I was ordering a glass of wine. That is what felt comfortable for me, and that is what felt good to me. I started just 2 months ago telling myself that I was going to sit down at a restaurant and not order a glass of wine. And let me tell you, the first month, I would literally just sit there and all I would think about is how much I wanted that glass of wine and how uncomfortable I was and how I couldn't enjoy the meal out because this new habit was not comfortable for me and it was not enjoyable for me because it was out of my comfort zone, because it was anxiety inducing, because it was stress inducing. It didn't feel comfortable, and all I told myself in that moment was my ideal self would not be ordering alcohol with this meal. And I just kept replaying that. And I would continue to not order the alcohol and just feel stressed and just feel anxious and not enjoy the eating out. And I just dealt with it. I just dealt with it. I did. And now I can go out to eat, sit down, and not even feel the urge to order the drink. But that first month was really, really tough. It's very hard. And again, if you are not used to taking those actions outside of your comfort zone, making new eating habits or new alcohol habits or new exercise habits, it is hard and it is going to be stressful and it is going to cause anxiety. And sometimes just understanding and knowing that can help you deal with it a little bit better, but it is hard. It is hard. And I do not underplay that in any way. All right, last but not least, why losing weight is so difficult is because food and alcohol are deeply, deeply ingrained into our society. There is no celebration, event, social gathering that I have not seen food or alcohol at. We celebrate and we connect as a community, as a society, through food and alcohol. And as human beings, part of what makes us feel fulfilled and whole is human connection. So trying to take out the food and the alcohol can often feel like we're directly taking out human connection that makes us feel whole and fulfilled and alive. That connection is so deeply rooted in our society that it is so difficult to go to a social gathering and only eat the healthy foods or not overindulge or not overdrink when everyone else is doing it. And again, it's just how we are bonding with our friends and our family members. This weight issue is not a you problem. It is a societal problem. The temptation is all around us. Everywhere we go, everywhere we spend time with friends, it's always going out to dinner, eating out, getting drinks. Rarely is it, let's go on a walk, let's go hiking, let's go to the gym, let's stretch, let's do yoga, right? Things that are healthy for our body. I never hear somebody asking me to go do that. It's always, you want to get dinner, you want to get lunch, you want to get drinks, right? It's always revolving around food and alcohol. So understanding how big of a role food and alcohol do play in our society, again, helps explain why not just losing the weight, but keeping it off feels like pushing a rock up a freaking mountain. Anybody who has lost the weight and kept it off has different methods and habits that they personally practice revolving around all of these situations. And I can't tell you exactly what is gonna work for you. I can't say that what has worked for me is gonna work for you or somebody else. We are all different and we all have different habits and lifestyles. And ultimately, long-term sustainable weight loss truly is a lot of trial and error in figuring out what works for you. And maybe that's taking one piece of what has helped one person, another piece of what has helped another person, but there is no one size fits all. And I think that also makes weight loss difficult because we like to have clear rules that we can follow because it's a lot easier to do that. But that is not how long-term successful sustainable weight loss works. So as you soak in these reasons as to why losing weight can feel so hard for you and for our society in general, I just hope you remember that there is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you, okay? Losing weight is hard. But I do fully believe that if you practice more kindness and empathy and patience with yourself, you will figure out what does and doesn't work for you. You are worth that effort. You are worth that time, that energy, that sacrifice. Again, there is no one size fits all. Just because something doesn't work for you doesn't mean you are doomed to be in the current weight that you are forever. You are not. It's trial and error. It's learning how to put on different hats and see what fits for you. So ultimately, please just be patient and kind and understanding with yourself and try different things until you figure out what works for you.